All right, folks, we're going to start out with the King James. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to take my board, my high-tech board here. 8, chapter 8 of Genesis now. So we're going to start out with the King James Version on chapter 8. Make sure I got my spectacles on here. And if y'all notice the King James Version that I'm using, it's the DRM free version. You can get it from Amazon. You can download this whole thing for free from Amazon MP3. It's the free version. So anybody can get this. You can go ahead and forward and read and play it while you're reading. It works really good that way if you play it and read at the same time. But anyway, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to play King James Version, chapter 8, Genesis.
Genesis, chapter 8. And God remembered Noah, and every living thing, and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep, and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days, that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro, until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also he sent forth a dove from him, to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark. For the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and took her, and pulled her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days. And again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. And God spake unto Noah, saying,
Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth.
And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart,
I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seedtime and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
There we go. So, we're good. Until modern technology, now man has the ability to destroy the earth on his own. No, we don't need God to destroy the earth anymore. So let's go on, and now I'm going to do the purple book here. the restored name scriptures. So let's see here. Can you find it? That's the bottom one here. Yeah, make sure I push the right scripture. 8.
Bereshit chapter 8. And
Got it.
Elohim remembered Noah, and all the beasts, and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were stopped, and the rain from the heavens was withheld. And the waters receded steadily from the earth. And at the end of the 150 days the waters diminished. And in the 7th new moon, the 17th day of the new moon, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased steadily until the 10th new moon. In the 10th new moon, on the first day of the new moon, the tops of the mountains became visible. And it came to be, at the end of 40 days, that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent out a raven, which kept going out and turning back until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for its feet, and returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of all the earth. So he put out his hand and took it, and pulled it into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. And the dove came to him in the evening, and see, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in its mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. And he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return to him again. And it came to be in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the new moon, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and saw the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd new moon, on the 27th day of the new moon, the earth was dry. And Elohim spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every life form of all flesh that is with you, of birds, of cattle, and all creeping creatures, the creeping creatures on the earth. And let them teem on the earth, and bear and increase on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons, and his wives, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping creature, and every bird, whatever creeps on the earth, according to their kinds, went out of the ark. And Noah built a slaughter place to Yahweh, and took of every clean beast and of every clean bird, and offered ascending offerings on the slaughter place. And Yahweh smelled a soothing fragrance, and Yahweh said in his heart, Never again shall I curse the ground because of man, although the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth, and never again strike all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. But
You know what I'm seeing here? I'm seeing in the later translations they got the days, where the dove was, after 40 days, when the rain stopped, Noah started sending the raven out, and it kept going and coming back. 7 days later, out, back, out, and back. For months and months at a time, it kept going back and forth. And then I think that was the confusion on the days when they redid it. Let's see if this holds true with the NIV version. I'm kind of curious if the days, how the dove and everything worked is changed from the King James version in this one. So, I didn't change it. I didn't change it to 8. Okay, here we go. NIV version, chapter 8.
Genesis 8. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days the water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives. All the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on land came out of the ark, one kind after another. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. And taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease."
Alrighty. Yeah, that, on the King James, it was a little confusing about, when he started sending the bird out, because, let's see here. I have to go back to the beginning of it. Art. In the other chapter, it's like it was 11 months, or anyway. I think they got it right where he started sending the bird out for more than in the King James version. It's like I sent it out 2 or 3 times, and now it was interpreted that he kept sending it out, and nothing was coming back for quite some time. Every 7 days, kept sending it out, and some time went past before he switched to the dove, and the dove came back. Yeah, so there we go. There was a little bit of difference in the numbers of the between the NIV and the King James version, which the NIV does make a little bit more sense in the numbers part. So maybe that was a good correction, but the basics of the story is still the same. It's still, we were wicked. There were hybrid humans living on the earth. There were, I hate to say it, but, people would call it aliens interbred with human females, and we had interspecies. It was just God. In other words, God frowned on interspecies relationships. So anyway, it was all bad, and he just wiped it out. He said we're going to start with a clean slate, and now after the flood, it's only been humans on the earth. So here we go. We're going to pick up with chapter 9 when we come back.